18-year-old Australian Minjee Lee is the latest in a line of exciting young talent in the women's game. After winning the US Girls and the Australian Women's Amateur Championship twice and playing alongside Kari Webb in the International Crown, she turned pro. Golfing World's Cara Robinson has been to meet her and find out more.
Minjee, thank you so much for joining us here on Golfing World. It's an absolute delight to meet you. We've got so much to talk about. I know that you've just turned professional and there's lots to discuss. But first of all, tell us how you first got into the game of golf.
Well, my mum teaches, so kind of just through, one day we went to the range down at the local club and just kind of started like that.
And how old were you at the time?
I think I was about 9, turning 10.
And how quickly did you realise it was something that you really enjoyed and that you'd want to, I guess, follow as a career?
I think it took me a couple of years, like when I got into the state teams and then started representing Australia, it just worked in kind of like that. So maybe 4 or 5 years.
So you've had a pretty amazing amateur career. You've been world #1 amateur. You're just off the back of the world amateur team champs. Just try and sum up your years of playing amateur golf and how important that was for you to develop, I suppose, as an athlete.
I think I developed as an athlete and as a person, so that matured me to get to this stage. So it was just a really great experience all up, and just very excited to be playing as a professional now.
You really shot onto the world stage in the International Crown earlier this year that we saw a few months ago, but before that you were a huge star back home in Australia, and Kari Webb, a veteran as we know in the golf world from Australia, has been a mentor to you, I suppose. And there's this lovely story a couple of years ago you flew out during US Open week and stayed with her. Just tell us a bit more about that.
It was kind of cool. It was my first time at a US Open, so I just kind of wanted to get the gist of what the experience was kind of like and what that atmosphere is kind of like at a US Open. So I got to experience that, and just being with Kari is kind of cool. She just kind of gives us advice and just talks about her experiences on tour. So it was just a pretty special experience.
So earlier this year we had the first ever International Crown, an amazing event. It was so great to see other countries involved that aren't just Solheim countries, and then you get picked as part of the Australian team still as an amateur. Could you quite believe what you're about to enter that week?
Actually, I really didn't know much about the International Crown. I know they were doing a lot of adverts and stuff for that, but it was just kind of like, oh, I got in. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to play with all these good players and playing that kind of different format, so it was pretty cool.
So World Amateur Team Champs, you just come off the back of, you led the Australian team to victory. You had a 64 and then a 65. I mean, just playing fantastic golf. How nice was it for you to play such a big part in that team, get to World Amateur #1 before then moving on to a different stage of your career?
Actually, it was so special, I think, that World Am, because it was like we won it the third time since, I don't know, 2002 was the last time they won it. So I think it was just kind of a special win for all of us, and just coming off that and turning pro was just I just finished on a really big high, so it was good.
Was that always the plan, to turn pro straight after the World Am?
Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
And why then? Was that because you felt you'd maybe completed what you wanted to do in the amateur world, or because it was a good time for you to enter the professional schedule, or how did you get to that decision?
A bit of both. I thought I was kind of ready to turn pro, and just getting the start at Evian was kind of a good way to start that. So I just thought it was a really good time, and just finishing off at World Am and it's one of the biggest tournaments for an amateur, so I thought it was a good time to finish there and turn professional.
Where does Minjee look to next? What are your plans in the professional circuit?
I'll go to stage 2 for LPGA qualifying school, so hopefully I make it through that, and I'm going to be playing in Korea, so yeah.
Okay, perfect. And just before you go, what are your career ambitions, do you think, now? I mean, you've probably already achieved a lot of them coming through such a fantastic amateur career. Where do you look to next, the heights that you want to reach in your career?
Well, I just want to get my card on the LPGA for next year. I just want to secure that, and then I can work to get to where I want after that. So yeah, that's going to be my biggest goal for this year.